In this video, I wanted to discuss financial side of our lives and give you a little bit of an insight on how I build my emergency fund, why I think it's important for every family or individual to have emergency fund built. Nowadays, most of us are living from paycheck to paycheck, and if we lose jobs, we will no longer be able to maintain the lifestyle that we are living now. Another problem that we have is that we spend more than we earn, and it gets even worse when we have some kind of an emergency and we have to gather the funds. I personally feel that it is very important to have money for so-called rainy day, as our grandparents did, and I think they were very wise. We are always encouraged to live in the moment, like there is no tomorrow, and enjoy our life to the fullest. And I don't have anything against enjoying your life, but I feel like enjoying your life within your means, is that what we need to do? I think the suggestion that we should live in the moment is taken by all of us quite literally, and we are not really thinking that there will be tomorrow. Tomorrow is there, and I think it's very important for us to remember it on a daily basis, and we need to think what is going to happen tomorrow if, for example, I lose my job tomorrow. I also think that saving money is impossible without having an emergency fund that is separate from savings, and that needs to be built first before you start savings. Because I think many of you can relate to the fact that sometimes we decide to start saving money, we get into it, we get motivated, and something happens and we have to spend that money, and then we just get demotivated, we don't save money anymore, we get into another debt because of another emergency, and it's just never-ending cycle. I personally started thinking on building my emergency fund. I came across Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey suggests that we need to build at least $1,000 or 1,000 pounds worth of emergency fund that will probably help us out with a little emergencies like a car breakdown. Once you have 1,000 pounds worth of emergency fund, you can start saving and you can start increasing your emergency fund further. So Dave Ramsey suggests that we have at least 3 months worth of living expenses put aside for emergencies only. If you are a family of 2, both husband and wife are working, then you should have 6 months worth of living expenses. It is very important to know what is an emergency fund and not use it for something else. So emergency fund is some amount of money that will help you to maintain your lifestyle that you currently have if emergency strikes. If you have a car breakdown, boiler breakdown, you are ill, if you need medications. In our case, we had a recent emergency when we had to travel back home to see doctors, because here doctors were very negligent. Emergency money is not a pizza money. It might be very tempting once you build up, let's say 6 months worth of emergency fund, and you might start thinking, well, this is quite a nice amount of money. Maybe I can start using it as a down payment for my house or a down payment for the car. And it can be very tempting, but you need to really put yourself in perspective. When I first started looking at the building of an emergency fund, I felt like maybe that's not for me, or that will be not possible, because I felt like each and every penny I have, it's counted towards something, and that there is no way I can come up with this extra money or extra income to support my emergency fund. Then I started looking into what can I cut. I had Amazon Prime, I had Netflix subscriptions, and we had a TV subscription that I did not renew my phone because I see no issues with my phone, and I believe that this is one thing that makes us believe that we need to do that. It's due to be renewed, as they call it, but I really don't see any problem with my phone, so I took out SIM-only deal, and I'm paying £12 a month for that. So there are ways how you can cut down your expenditure I also stopped buying coffee outside, and that saves me a lot of money. I did not know that I'm spending on a coffee and a cookie around £100 a month. If you feel that you can't go for £1,000 or $1,000 for your emergency fund, try to build it smaller. Maybe start with £500 or £200. The thing is that when you have an emergency on a smaller scale and you do have that £200 or £500 on the side, this will make you feel that you are able to afford this, and this will not put you off the track. I feel that many families have this issue of fighting over money, and it's just one of the main things why divorces happen. You will be able to avoid that frustration that you get when you suddenly have to spend this money, put a strain in your relationship. The main mistake that we do when we try to save money or build an emergency fund is that we decide that, okay, I will be putting 10% or 20% of my income aside towards my savings. That is not going to take you anywhere. That's not gonna help you save money fast or build an emergency fund. Set yourself a goal for emergency fund that is low and is achievable, and as you achieve it you will feel more motivated and more empowered. How you can do that is that maybe you can ask for extra hours at work, you can pick up other people's kids from school, maybe you can start selling something, maybe you can rent out your parking space, you can rent out your shed, you can rent out your loft for storage. People do pay for these things. So just think on how can you push yourself a little bit further for a short period of time. Look at your expenditure and always make a budget for your shopping and don't go over it. Don't buy lunches outside when you're at work. Make your own food, and don't do this thing that most of us do. We don't buy coffee, we resist it, we think I'm going to save money, but during our lunch we go out and buy ourselves a sandwich. It's still money spent. Another very good tip that I have is that you should take the money from your account whenever you receive your wages and put it into an emergency fund first. So before you pay your bills, before you start your meal planning, before you do anything, act like you never even earned that money, and you will learn to live within your means. Most of us have our wages increased, I don't know, since 5 years back, but we were able to live on a smaller amount of money 5 years ago than what we live off now. So we clearly have extra money. Many of us are used to paying other people first, and we pay our mortgage, our rents, our phone bills, everything for other people, and without thinking what are we leaving for ourselves. To wait till the end of the month and act as that amount that you've decided to put to your emergency fund never existed, and you will come up with the ways to raise money if you need more. If needed be, you can make automatic payments, and that will take a payment straight away after you receive the wages, so that you don't even have to be bothered about it. When I started saving for my emergency fund is that I had online banking and I had a separate savings account for my emergencies, and as I have an online banking, I can just swap the money from my emergency fund into my current account, because I was just short of money this month, and so money went in at the beginning of the month to my emergency fund but went out in the middle of the month. And I think we all have this problem. So what I've done is I opened a separate savings account in another bank. I cut out the cards, I opt out from online banking, and if I needed to take the money out, I would need to go to the branch with my ID and take the money out. and I don't have time for that. I also started setting a little milestones for building up my emergency fund. So my suggestion is that if you feel that you can start with £500 and you achieve it, think what you can do next. Can you save another 1,000 and how fast you can do that? This is it. These are all my tips for now on how to build your emergency fund. I hope this will be useful and that you will take away something and will be able to adopt it to your personal financial life. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you haven't already.